Hyponatremia is one of the common dyselectrolytemia we get in our day-to-day practice. So we must know a simple approach so that we can apply it easily. Hello friend, welcome to my YouTube channel 5 Minute Pediatric. Today I will discuss about a simple approach to hyponatremia. So approach to hyponatremia. Hyponatremia is defined as if the serum sodium is less than 135 milliequivalent per liter. As we know that normal level is 135 to 145. Okay, if we have hyponatremia, then we look for serum osmolality. Okay, serum osmolality, not osmolarity. Okay, it is calculated by 2 into serum sodium plus glucose by 18 plus blood urea nitrogen divided by 2.8. Okay, so normal value we have 285 to 295. Now after calculating serum osmolarity, we get high serum osmolarity. If we have high serum osmolarity, we called it factitious hyponatremia. It means factitious here means hyperglycemia or iatrogenic causes hyponatremia. Here serum sodium decrease due to increased level of glucose. For every 100 milligram per deciliter rise in blood glucose, decrease serum sodium by 1.6 milliequivalent per liter. Iatrogenic cause is using mannitol, sucrose or glycerin. These are the factitious hyponatremia. There is a high serum osmolarity. Okay, this is not true hyponatremia. Now if the serum osmolarity is low, actually low, okay, this is called true hyponatremia, and we will discuss in detail about true hyponatremia. And if the serum osmolarity is normal, we called it pseudo hyponatremia. Here serum sodium is normal, but there is reduced water. The cause is hyperlipidemia and hyperproteinemia. Now we have true hyponatremia. If we have true hyponatremia, we look for the volume status, but the volume status is very difficult to assess. Still we assess the volume level of the patient, and if we get sign of dehydration, so we have hypovolemic hyponatremia. If we have sign of dehydration and hypovolemic hyponatremia, we look for urinary sodium then. Okay, if the urinary sodium is more than 20, so here kidney is excreting more sodium, so there is a renal loss. Okay, and if kidney is conserving sodium and decreasing less sodium, that is we have extra renal loss in the form of gut or through skin. Okay, now what are the causes for the renal loss of sodium? We have cerebral salt wasting syndrome, we have autosomal recessive polycystic kidney disease, we have juvenile nephrostenosis, okay, or the aldosterone deficiency in 21 hydroxylase deficiency, or use of diuretic. If we are using diuretic, it causes hyponatremia, and if we stop, sodium level becomes normal. And gut, through gut we have diarrhea emesis. As we know that if there is a prolonged emesis, there is a metabolic alkalosis. In that case, we look for serum chloride. We have already discussed in approach to ABG about metabolic alkalosis. Now we have hypervolumic state, means there is sign edematous patient, there is excess fluid, sign of fluid overload. Actually, there is a decreased effective volume. There is a third space loss of fluid. Effective circulating volume is although low. So in this condition also we look for urinary sodium, and urinary sodium is more than 20. If it is less than 10, we have cardiac failure or liver failure. Okay, and if it is more than 20, then we are renal failure, and in this case renal failure is mostly treated by dialysis. All the content have been taken from Nelson. You can go through it. I have tried it tried to make it simple only. And if we have euvolumia, that is normal volumic condition, in this condition we look for urine osmolality. Okay, if urine osmolality for dilute urine or concentrated urine, if it is less than 100, this means we have dilute urine. There is intake problem. Okay, there is water intoxication, either iatrogenic infusion of hypotonic fluid or primary psychogenic polydipsia. And if we get urine osmolality more than 100, then there must be some retention problem. There is increased level of ADH, as occur in SIADH, glucocorticoid deficiency, hypothyroidism, and drugs. In this condition, we have to supplement hormone cortisol and thyroxine. Now, important thing I will discuss regarding cerebral salt wasting, SIADH, and diabetes insipidus. The difference and comparative study between these three, and these three is very important. So mechanism behind cerebral salt wasting, there is increased atrial natriuretic peptide. So there is a renal loss of sodium along with water. And SIDS, there is increased level of ADH, there is water retention, and just opposite we have decreased ADH, so there is a free water loss in diabetes insipidus. And if we look for the volume status, we have hypovolumic in cerebral salt wasting, euvolumia or hypervolumic state in SIDH, and diabetes insipidus there is hypovolumic. If we look for serum sodium, there is low, there is normal to low in SIDH, and diabetic insipidus we can differentiate from these two having high sodium. If we look for urinary sodium, increased in CWS and SIDH and decreased in case of diabetes insipidus. Similarly, if we look out for the urine output, there is high in CWS and diabetes insipidus, and SIDS there is normal. Now, before completing this lecture, as we know that CWS means cerebral salt wasting, and SIDS both occur in CNS injury. So we must differentiate between these two conditions. Now, criteria for syndrome of inappropriate SIDH criteria. So in absence of RHD, mnemonics I have made. In absence of renal, adrenal failure, adrenal insufficiency and hypothyroid, heart, liver, and again nephrotic syndrome, we have to all these rule out conditions. This is diagnosis of exclusion. Diuretics and dehydration must not be there. Okay, and if we look for serum osmolarity, so we have less than 280. Urinary osmolarity is more than 100, and urinary sodium more than 30, and this condition is reversed by water resistant. Treatment I have discussed in detail, and you can see in